Okay. This is kind of a continuation of what we did earlier this afternoon, but there's some stuff we didn't have a chance to go over, and there's stuff that's been uploaded since. I will tell you, there's that one exhibit that is a year's worth of Blake Lively's emails, and I don't know if it's like how much in a year. It might be back and forth with someone for a year, which might not actually be that much. I don't know, but it wasn't on the CD that Clark got. So, reminder: our friend Clark went and got this stuff for us. It's been uploaded by our friend Carol to It Ends With Us, or not It Ends With Us, docketupdates.com. So make sure you guys give them a little love for that. But there were some texts from the Van Zandt production that I want to go through. And then also this timeline came up. And we're going to look at that. And then why don't I just share the screen with you guys right now? Let's get this out of the way first and foremost, because for the last 2 days, people have been asking me, why are you wearing sunglasses? I have a red eye, not like the fun plain kind, but the kind where my eye is red. Okay, hang on. Let's see. This is docketupdates.com. There we go. But yeah, I have a red eye, so we're gonna get that out of the way. My eye's red. We see that? Okay. I'm allergic to dogs. I have a dog. My sister has a dog. If I run out of my allergy medicine, this is what happens. I get hives, I get itchy, I get red eyes. Luckily, only one eye is red this time. What's up, Cassidy? How's it going? So, I was looking through one of these things, and we saw another throwback to Taylor Swift, where, well, we'll get to that in a minute. But I guess her influence was also brought up in the discussion about wardrobe, which I have some screenshots of the wardrobe that you guys can look at so you can see why this was such an issue. But, oh no, did you make eye contact with Blake? I would never. Okay. So many ads that aren't skippable. You must be raking it in, Lauren. So I don't do the ads manually. YouTube automatically does the ads, and then afterwards, after the video has processed by YouTube, then it lets me go in and remove some ads if I want to, which I try to. But you know, I don't really know how to please you in that regard. If you're like really upset about the ads, then you should probably maybe like go to someone who doesn't show ads on their channel. That's fine. I totally support that. Like if you have that much of a problem with it, that's cool. I don't really work for free. I don't expect anyone else to do that. So if it's that much of a problem, like I said, maybe just go somewhere else where they don't have ads. Otherwise, it's cool. Whatever you want to do, it's totally up to you. But like I said, I always try to go back and remove ads, but I cannot do that until after YouTube has processed the video after the stream is over. So it's really kind of out of my hands at the moment. I'm not like clicking a button and saying show ad, show ad, show ad, show ad. And no, I'm not raking it in. I mean, it's not like I make no money, but I'm not like raking it in. Like I have a full-time job, you know what I mean? So I guess just to address that, Cassidy says it's such a pain. We can't change it until usually the next day. Yeah, dude, like I do what I can. But like I said, I'm not going to work for free. And if I just turn ads off altogether, then I don't make anything. You know what I mean? So, and given the amount of time I've spent on this, and I pay out of pocket to like travel to New York and go to court and report back on that and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm going to have ads on my videos. If you are really, really offended by that, then you should totally go somewhere else and watch. And that's fine. I absolutely support that. I'm not going to ream you for it. I'm just saying it's kind of inappropriate to demand that somebody not get money for their work, especially when I'm spending money on the work. Because every time documents come out on the docket, I'm spending money for that too. And I've had up to $2,300 in bills just from getting documents off the Pacer website. So, yeah, I think it's just kind of something you have to weigh the information you got and kind of make your decision there. But no hard feelings. I'm just telling you, if you are offended by ads, you should probably go elsewhere. All right. Anyways, let's pull this up. Okay, so these are all the files that Clark and Docket Updates have posted. Let's see. We went through a lot of them earlier, like the script notes. The contract negotiations I'm not going to pull up. I have a couple of things we're going to go through. And then as far as this emails that was not on the CD, and then these larger videos that haven't been uploaded yet, they're pending. That's something that I will go over in a separate stream. If these come up tonight somehow, then we'll do that right away. If not, then we'll wait until the emails come out. But we'll just go over a few things that came up here. And I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing else that I've missed in the meantime. Hang on. Okay. Yeah, so the contract stuff, like I said, I'm not really going to go through. We went through all the TikToks and the clips earlier. Let's see. So the first thing I want to get to is, well, let me show you what I headlined about this first, right? Which is there was a thing here about the wardrobe. Let's see. Make sure I've got that in the right spot. So for people who are looking for what the headline is about, I'll find that message first and we'll do that. Let's see. I know it was in red. Not that one. Here it is. Okay. So this is part of a timeline that was produced by Melissa Nathan's Discovery, I guess. It says, in the morning, Justin and Blake discussed production wardrobe. And hopefully you guys can see that, right? Let me move my head so that's easier to see all this. How about that? Why don't we go all the way over there? Okay. And I'll zoom in a little bit. Okay, that should be good. In the morning, Justin and Blake discussed production wardrobe, and Blake made some remark about how, because remember, people were complaining about her wardrobe, right? And Blake made some remark about how Taylor Swift said, the fans don't know what they want until you give it to them, in defense of her wardrobe choices, which were being trashed online. Further, she paid Justin a compliment on this day, and Justin, in hearing it, teared up. This would later be weaponized against him, as Blake would insist that Justin was in her trailer sobbing about how she looks old. That's not good, but make sure you guys can see the... I got a message from StreamYard that says the browser disconnected, so hopefully you can still see the thing on the screen. If not, just let me know. But all right, so I want to point out exactly what this is all about, which is okay, this is not the wardrobe. This was just a funny meme that my friend Aaron sent me before we started, which says Grand Theft movie, and then of course you got Justin with a violin in the back. So that was funny. All right. So Cassidy says she gave it to us, we gave it back. Right. If you're not Taylor Swift, you can't get away with shit like that. Taylor Swift can get away with that. You know? Blake Lively cannot. So this is what this was all about. And I think a lot of people who haven't seen the movie probably don't know. But these were like her wardrobe choices. And I'm just going to say this. I don't think that Blake Lively is an ugly person. That's just not... I don't think so. Even, I know I've seen the pictures going around of like her before the plastic surgery. And I'm like, yeah, this is not someone that I think is like an ugly person. You know what I mean? On the outside anyways. And the problem was the wardrobe, not her. So let's point that out just to, I don't know. That's just kind of a thing for me. I'm like, I don't usually criticize people's appearance, but your clothing choices are not the same as your face. You know what I mean? Like, you can change your clothes. You can't change your, well, I guess you can technically change your face because we've seen it, but like, you know what I mean? You guys know what I'm saying. So I don't control other people's opinions. If you guys think that she's like an ugly motherfucker, that is totally up to you. I'm just saying, me personally, I don't think she's ugly or anything like that. I want to say that before I point out the problems with her wardrobe. Okay, so she is the female lead in this film. And we have this outfit here where she's wearing like pants on pants and like a shirt that doesn't seem to match. And I'm a little confused by this choice. I don't get it. I'm like, I don't know anybody who dresses like that. So the wardrobe choices were just a little odd. Even if the character Lily was meant to be eccentric, which I'm not saying she was, I'm just saying even if she was meant to be eccentric, I'm like, what is this decision that you've just made? Why are you wearing this? Like, okay. Anyways, I'm not going to read the article. I just want to show you the images. So here's another one where it's like, okay, she looks, oh my God. I'm sorry, but this looks like an outfit that we might give to somebody at the hospital who was like, they were a person in need. It was cold outside and they needed something to wear. And we used to give them clothes that we had in a bin of donations. And like, that's what this looks like to me. And I'm sorry. Like, it's fine if you want to dress like that. I'm not the most stylish person in the world or even close, but like, what the fuck is this for a female lead in a Hollywood movie? Like, those pants, they match my red eye. It's like, you might like that color in general, but where it is right now, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know what else to say about that. Cassidy says she looks like the person on a fishing trip in charge of putting the bait on the hook. All right. So she's doing promo work for the homeless lord. Fuck off, Kay Bella. I know you're joking, but still, that's hilarious. The shirt that she's wearing, it looks like something that I might purchase from Walmart. And that's how you know it's like a huge red flag. It's like, yeah, I might buy and wear that. But that's a huge red flag for a Hollywood actress in like this supposed to be a big movie. It's not a movie about needy people. So why are you wearing this outfit? I'm sorry. Like, that's the problem. And then Kim says, you know, which pair of pants do you not like? I don't even know. I don't even know. There might be one more image in here. Let's see. I guess there's a TikTok. Hang on. I didn't see it. Lively, what is this pants on pants situation? Yeah. Yeah, I I don't know, dude, but people were like really confused by that. They were like, why does she look like that, basically? And well, now we know, because when they tried to confront her about it, Blake's response was, and I quote here, Taylor Swift said, "The fans don't know what they want until you give it to them," in defense of her wardrobe choices, which were being trashed online. But like, if you're making this big movie and you're the female lead and the fans are already trashing it online, do you think that maybe you could then adjust your wardrobe rather than be like, well, they don't know what they're talking about? They're the ones who are going to support your movie. They're the reason that you can do your job the way that you do it. They're the reason that your films and your jobs are successful. Maybe if you're getting widespread feedback that the wardrobe is fucking weird, then you change it, right? If she was just going about her life and she decided this is how I want to dress, do your thing, dude. Do your thing. But if you're making a movie with a bunch of people and you're trying to make the movie successful and your choices affect the other people around you and their jobs and how successful their work is, maybe you take that into account. This Taylor Swift said the fans don't know what they want until you give it to them thing only works if you're Taylor Swift and you're individually putting on a show like her tour. You know what I mean? Like, this doesn't work. And like I said, I personally, like, I don't think she's an ugly person. I don't think that she's a physically ugly person. I don't know what to say about that other than the wardrobe choices were poor. People noticed that, and her response was to double down and then to get mad when people talk shit about it. So it's just odd. Anyways, we'll move up and go through some of this, especially the red parts in this document here, right? So that was the first one. She said, Taylor Swift said the fans don't know what they want until you give it to them in defense of her wardrobe choices, which were being trashed online. Further, she paid Justin a compliment on this day, and Justin, in hearing it, teared up. This would later be weaponized against him, as Blake would insist that Justin was in her trailer sobbing about how she looks old. Later that day, Blake requested to meet with Jamie, Justin, Alex, and Ange after rap. Jamie knocked on her trailer and she let him in. In the room was her hair/makeup team and her assistant and/or nanny. Blake later took issue with this. Jamie and Blake spoke about when the meeting would take place. Blake would not adjust her turnaround time and instead insisted that we meet tonight. After Blake finished taking her makeup, they had the meeting in Blake's makeup trailer. The lookbook convo is what they call it. Yes. All right. Okay, listen. The red eye is not that bad, and it's hard to read with these sunglasses on, so I'm just going to fucking take them off. So, all right. Then we get down to the next red line, which is the karaoke scene filming. It says, sexy comment happened on set in between takes while JB was giving direction. At the end of day 9, JB sends a text to Blake. I'm not going to tell you that you were amazing because you teased me for being sentimental, but you were amazing today. Blake responds, thank you, I do appreciate it. I'm just a ball buster, but it means a lot to me. I care a great deal and always want to deliver. You were terrific. I'm proud of everything we did today, but really every day. Okay. And this is after he allegedly made the comments and after he Jamie allegedly showed the video. Let me see the I don't know the headings here, but we can kind of put that together, right? Okay. Here, and this is 8 days later, Justin apologizes again. So the first apology right on the spot should have been sufficient. But of course, she was being kind of and I hate to say a Karen because I know so many nice people named Karen, but like, you guys know what that means, being a Karen. Justin apologizes again to Blake and Jenny via text sent through Alex Sachs that he's aware of their concern regarding the sexy comment. Okay. Right. And then we have the next day, Blake took Alex, Justin, and Jamie to her trailer to discuss the complaints she had about them. These complaints included 1, the sexy comment, 2, the birth scene video, 3, told JB that he should not cry anymore. And like, okay, the guy is clearly an emotional dude. And if you're uncomfortable with men having emotions, that's fine in your personal life. If you're like dealing with people on a regular basis, sometimes people just have emotions, especially when you're working on an extremely emotional film. Like, I'm just saying, like, that's not the worst offense in the world if he cried when you gave him a compliment. I don't find that to be an offense. All right. Told Jamie Heath that he looked at her in the trailer. Says that she was offended that Jamie asked her sister for a hug, and then minimized HR concerns. Okay, so Jamie asked, okay, so he asked. He didn't just go in and hug her. He was like, can I give you a hug or whatever? Because they like to hug people. And she was probably like, no, I don't want a hug. That's a normal adult communication, right? And minimizing HR concerns. I mean, that's not an HR concern. If you're like, I want to hug you, and somebody's like, I'm not a hugger, and you give them a high five instead, that's not a fucking HR concern. That's a adult moment there that worked itself out. 6, she also mentioned something to Alex Sachs that I can't recall, so they don't remember what that was, but okay. I'm just reading the red parts here. JB divulges to Colleen all the behind-the-scenes drama that went down, tells her about the sexy comment. Both Colleen and her friend Taryn are empathetic to the situation. Okay. And then there's here on 524, Todd Black, Colleen, Bradley Cooper, Ryan Reynolds, Sean Levy, and Gigi Hadid were present for the family and friends screening, which had an overall low score. We didn't find out Colleen would be there until after Todd Black told Jamie Heath. This was a surprise, as Colleen had no relationship with Blake up until this point, as far as they knew. But little do they know, a lot was going on behind the scenes, right? So the family screening had a low score. Then they have this other screening that has 83%, and then another one that's 81%. Okay. And the 81% says this cut went back to Justin's original cut, mostly. Right. And this one here, I want to point out, it says Josh Greenstein, Ange Giannetti, Justin, and Jamie attended the screening. They were informed by Josh that Colleen Hoover is working with Blake. He also said Blake informed him that Colleen won't promote the movie either unless we use Blake's cut. So this had nothing to do with behavior. It had nothing to do with sexual harassment. It was use my cut or the author won't promote the author of the book won't promote the movie. That's not a matter of sexual harassment. It's terrorism, emotional terrorism. So as Sony put it, not me. That's not my words. Those are Sony's words. She was a terrorist, right? Colleen won't promote the movie unless we use Blake's cut, which she was involved with in giving notes and feedback. So when we get to the text messages that we're going to get to, you're going to see a lot more about this, which she was involved with in giving notes and feedback, which is not required. Wayfair was not required to give her any input, but they did. Let me put these back on. Hang on. Let's see. There's the book Bonanza thing. Blake, Colleen, Brandon, Isabella, Alex, Alex Sachs attend a book bonanza. Sony was not aware that Brandon and Isabella would attend. This was something that Blake personally paid for, their travel and hotel. After this conversation Alex had with Brandon, Alex informed Todd Black that she would no longer be speaking with Wayfarer. Jamie reached out and she did not respond to any texts or calls. Per Todd's conversation with Alex, Todd understood that none of the cast present would be doing any press with Justin. That's Brandon, Colleen, Isabella. Okay. So there's something to do with this coffee table book about the making of It Ends With Us. And Blake's lawyer sent them a cease and desist letter. So they were trying to, they did pre-sale flyers for this book, and Blake saw that her name was on the cover. It says, additionally, her body double was used on one of the collage images on the cover. I think that's one of their lawyers, Wayfarer's lawyers, responded to Lindsay on the same day to let her know we will remove her name and images from the books. So, okay. And then this is 2 days later. Colleen reached out to Joanna/Atria to inquire about the book. So this is about the coffee table book about the making of the movie. One sec, guys. Okay, Cassidy says it had photos of her in it and her contract didn't allow that, but she never signed it. So, yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. Anyways, Colleen reaches out. She says, Colleen was concerned that she did not realize that none of the cast was included in the book. She didn't feel comfortable with this. Okay, so she wasn't comfortable that none of the cast were included in the book. Meanwhile, the cast is sending a cease and desist because they don't want to be included in a book. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. Atria emails Jamie to let him know they are pulling the coffee table book and won't publish. So they never published it. Right. Joanna was really disappointed and texted Colleen context as to why Cass was not included in the book. She also said Blake wins. So Blake won again. Here's on the 10th, the next day, Roger Ebert interview discussion with Company 3. Justin reached out to Stefan Sonnenfeld to request to do a mock coloring session for It Ends With Us for the Roger Ebert Day in the Life interview. I don't know Roger Ebert or Ebert, so if I'm pronouncing that wrong, I'm sorry. Let's see, SS texted Blake to warn her. Who's SS? I don't know. Blake messages JG. That's Josh Greenstein. Josh called Jamie Heath to convey that Blake was not happy that Justin was doing a coloring session when he didn't do the work. So she went and demanded through other people that she convinced that Justin was doing them wrong, that they use her cut, and then claims that Justin didn't do any work when really they only used her cut because she took everyone hostage and contacted Sony and said, we won't do this. We won't promote this or that unless you do what I want you to do. That's fucked up. All right. So there's a copy here where there was some more red stuff, I think, mentioned. So let me just run through this real quick. Meeting about wardrobe concern. Okay. Apologizes again. You just make sure we're not missing anything. So his test score for friends and family was 88%. His Denver test screening was 76, and his Viejo test was 86. And I think her Viejo test was 83, right? Torrance test 81. So his was slightly better. Okay. There was the cease and desist with the coffee table book. That was ridiculous. All right. So here's a spreadsheet, another piece of the spreadsheet that says zingers, and it says reputation. Blake's last movie rhythm section, which I never watched that, was reported to have also had difficulties on set, similar to It Ends With Us. There was speculation that Blake took over the movie, and when the movie bombed, she blamed Reed Morana, the director. So this is apparently not the first time she's done this. I never watched rhythm section, so I don't know about that, but she apparently has a reputation for this. Hello, Omar. What's up? I have to watch that episode. I don't know what episode you mean, but anyways, moving on. We're almost done with this timeline. This other piece says Blake has had a number of speculated feuds with cast on her projects, including Anna Kendrick, Leighton Meester, and it looks like this was incomplete. Like they never finished the thing. Here's people, and I don't really know what this means. It's just showing Todd Black brought on per Blake's request. Chris Surgent in the production planning meeting turned HR complaints meeting on January 4th. Right. So there's nothing really information-wise that we need to see here. And this is the archive. Let's make sure there's no red notes here that we need to see. They're still working on their timeline. Let's see. Trailer launch influencer event at Sony. Okay, so they're talking about the dinner they had with Colleen. It says Justin divulges to Colleen all the behind-the-scenes drama that went down. Tells her about the sexy comment. Both Colleen and her friend Taryn are empathetic. I think we saw that. And then Colleen, as we know, after that, Colleen calls Brandon Sklenar. And this is sometime between that day and the next week. It says Colleen calls Brandon Sklenar and divulges details of the dinner to him. We later hear from Blake and Ryan that dinner made her feel uncomfortable. Interesting. Okay. Well, we know what else happened behind the scenes, which was they gave her a lot more control over the film after she sold the rights to Wayfarer. They had every right to not take her suggestions if they didn't want to. All right. I don't think there's anything else here we need to read that we haven't already seen. Yeah, there was that stuff. So we'll move on to the next thing, which is the Van Zandt texts. But let me real quick. Don't want that. Unsealed docs. Okay. Because there's an email from Colleen that I wanted to go over, which is insane. I think I have it. Yeah, there it is. Download that. God, it got so dark outside here so fast. It's crazy. All right, I'll open that up. So I'm going to read this Colleen Hoover email in the context of some of these texts we're about to see. These are some of the texts, not all of them, that were produced by the Van Zandt subpoena. And so we'll see how that goes. Give me one sec. Okay. Zoom in a little bit so you guys can see better, and then I'll also do this. So I made some markings to where we need to read the text, and I don't know if they show up here. Hang on, let me find out. That's not it, is it? Yep, I did. Okay. Sure, yep. There. So wherever I made markings is where I need to read the text. So there's some of the stuff we've already seen before. So it's like, or some of the stuff that's just like random greetings and shit that we don't need to go through. Let me move down to my first marking. How about that? And the Colleen Hoover email will be important in the context of some of this stuff, but not until we get a little bit into it. Okay. So reminder, this is like tag that's Katie Case, Brianna Coslow, Melissa Nathan is talking to Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Jen Abel. So there's, a lot of conversation going on here, but he says, just sharing, got this text from my old assistant who doesn't know anything personally going on, so must be getting louder. It breaks my heart to see you doing press separate from the rest of the cast and Colleen. I'm sorry, and I hope this situation somehow brings you strength and you can stay proud of the movie and your work in it. I love you. Okay. So he's just saying, like, people are noticing, stuff online. It seems really odd. It makes them feel sad for him. So just wanted to point that out. Where's the next one that I wanted to share? So this is how the PR teams kind of worked. He would send them stuff and say, hey, all, this person evidently is stirring the pot. Check her stories. And I can't see exactly who that is or what TikTok that is. Unfortunately, even if I try to zoom in, it's too blurry for me to see. I tried earlier. Katie Case, who worked for Tag, said, "Hello, thank you. We've been monitoring her and the comments on her posts closely over the past few days. As you're correct, she is stirring the pot." And I think if I had to guess, I would say they're probably talking about Jenna Redfield, but I'm not positive. She also is less like Demoise, where she doesn't post so often of incoming tips. She's a media junkie. Okay, right. And these are private text conversations between him and his crisis PR team and all that. So is there a plan there or just watching? And sorry, can I get names for the numbers? Some of this stuff is redacted per the judge still. So some of this, like the judge said, we don't need to release that kind of information, like the phone numbers and these names of people who are really not involved. So Melissa Nathan says, yes, we have a plan in place, and Jamie/Jen, myself, chatted this AM on a social strategy. Okay. And then this is just him sending more FYI from my set assistant Beyond. So like just more people talking about the filming and rumors and shit like that. Katie K says, thank you for sharing. Super important they don't engage. We're not feeding into any of this while it remains purely speculative. So they really were trying to remain disengaged from all this stuff. Okay. Bree says, yes, absolutely zero engagement. She can be tricky too. Okay. Hi again, as promised, sending some helpful language for use as needed. So this is kind of like how they're saying he should respond to his friends who are sending him this stuff. Thanks so much for sending. We're not responding to these. Really appreciate you flagging to us. Of course, if it's someone, and they're saying, of course, if it's someone Justin is close with, or someone he has a close relationship with, do feel free to add in additional language as suitable. But they're just trying to guide him in how to handle this stuff. Let's watch this thread. He's sending them more threads. Will do. Bree says, narrative is shifting online to pointing finger at Ryan being overly involved, which seems somewhat accurate, at least in the aftermath after filming was done. So, one sec, guys. Timothy Evo, thank you for the $10. Did you see in the new video of the dance scene where Justin says, I'm going to take off my hat and then kiss you, and then Blake says, okay, great. He asked for consent. Her case is over. I mean, they never even kissed. But yes, that's true. I would agree with that. I didn't hear that exact dialogue in the clip, but I'll have to rewatch it. But in any case, that does indicate consent, obviously. If she said, okay, great. You know what I mean? Okay. So, how come we haven't heard anything about the settlement conference both parties had last week? We won't. We will never hear about that. It's supposed to be private. They haven't even talked to each other. Like, so one side talked to the magistrate judge, the other side talked to her. They have not had a meeting with each other yet. When they settle this, it is extremely unlikely that we would ever hear anything about that. When settlements happen, it's private. A lot of times that involves an NDA, which means they can't talk about it legally because they sign to that effect. So we'll probably never hear about those things. It's extremely unlikely. Okay. He did say he was going to take off the hat to kiss her. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Well, if she said okay to that, then that's a her problem. Also, the intimacy coordinator in her deposition mentioned that kissing doesn't necessarily necessitate an intimacy coordinator. So if he, the director, is trying to talk with the other actress who's playing opposite him about a scene and says, we should do this in our romantic dance scene, and she says, okay, great, then that's a her problem for not saying, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? I think she was being unprofessional in that scene at best. So, Ryan's messages are unhinged to the point he sounds insane, like he is absolutely obsessed with Justin, like Psycho. I mean, I don't even know what to say about Ryan at this point. Ryan's interesting, way more than I thought it would be. Okay. Narrative is shifting online to point the finger at Ryan being overly involved. Yes, but need to make sure that doesn't become a threat to them, as the unfollow situation is what everyone's pointing at. Seemingly that something is much bigger under the surface, as why would they all unfollow? So when they talk about Justin doing a smear campaign and coming after them in the press. Like, Ryan and Blake both knew what a big deal an unfollow is when you're a Hollywood star, right? They knew that that was a big deal. They knew that there was rumblings about shit going on online, and they knew that would make a statement. So I have no sympathy for them for whatever happens after the fact where these people are trying to defend themselves. Now, if they made up fake stories about Blake and they started to publish those things online and promote those things online, that would be one thing. But them actually pointing to things that Blake and Ryan did, but they really did, I don't have any sympathy for them being like, it's their campaign, because all they did was point out what you actually did to the public, and the public had their own opinions about that. And that is not anyone else's problem but their own. I still can't believe Ryan subpoenaed us. Yeah, it became pretty clear, I think, guys, after we read those emails from Ryan Reynolds, that Ryan is the one who is hyper online and monitoring this stuff. So and his name was on the subpoena. So it seems pretty clear at this point that Ryan was behind the content creator subpoenas. Why does Ryan Reynolds want my address and my location data, my credit card numbers? I don't fucking know. Maybe he spent all his money. I'm not sure on these lawyers, you know what I mean? But like, he's pretty interesting. So, okay. Anyways, let's move on. Yes, don't need to make sure it doesn't become a threat to them. Okay. We've flagged to Jed and his team as well, of course, but right now, still entirely speculation, right? Justin says, one thing coming up, as I'm saying, prayers. Colleen has been on record sharing about her collab with me at the trailer event and in the EPK. Then within weeks of that, it all changed. That footage and those quotes need to be dug up as it refutes what the article says. So the article is obviously trying to say Colleen was even against him, but he's like, Colleen and I were just doing press together. We were fine. Katie Case says 100% we have those and we'll work together more, as well as the multitude of glowing interviews she's given in support of you. Right. Scroll down to my next one. Here's a message from Katie that says, thank you for flagging. They're still digging, still recommended providing the below language as needed. Okay, so that's when people are sending him messages about stuff that's coming out in the press. Right. Jen Abel says, I do want to flag with the LA Times request that I saw on that Jenna Redfield TikTok that she had said that she gave what she knows to the LA Times. So there might be something there exploring, like worth exploring. This was the same account who was doing the investigative journalism attempts. Defer to the pros, of course. Okay. And then they show a lot of stuff that I marked here about like good narrative about intimacy coordinators and the care Justin took making this movie. And they flag a lot of like positive articles in this. So I'll probably skim over some of that stuff. But he says, hi, all just checking in. How we doing? Jen says, we're good. Monitoring online conversation. Nothing has shifted from yesterday. Just flagging this. Just broke from your interview with People last week. It's good. Love that headline. So they were just monitoring press at this point, which is much of what they did. So Katie Case says he should definitely apologize for this headline. Eye roll. All right, let's see. What was the headline? I can't really tell from here. Unfortunately, the attachments and stuff. It says Justin Baldoni ends with us for audience exclusive. Yeah, I can't really tell what the headline was, but okay, he's sending more there. It says E-Online News. Blake Lively gives example of creative differences, and then it says just speaks to music decisions in the movie. Well, okay. Justin says, the fact she is actually saying she made us put a song in the film is a massive flag. I'm surprised she's saying these things. Katie says, we're tracking things like this to make note of as needed moving forward. Okay. Justin sends him a video, says to watch it. Bree says, yes, a lot of the sentiment has been shared and expressed across social media. People are reading through her self-centered promo. So they're not even doing anything. Just monitoring and talking about it. So, all right. Justin sends another TikTok. Jen says, yes, we have this, and this is what the digital team is amplifying. So, like, whenever he would send them positive stuff, or like that, let's boost this, you know? So it's not a problem. Oh, wow, it's hit Reddit, he says. This is a celebrity kind interview I did. I think me saying I wanted a trigger warning is a good thing. So he's trying to boost positive things. and that in my cut there was a big call to action before my name, but no one can know that. Unfortunately, no one can know it because his cut is not going to be shown. It'll never be shown, in my opinion. I don't think it's ever going to happen, and that's unfortunate. Definitely unfortunate. I hate that for him, but if it was ever released, I would watch it. And I think at this point, even given all just the publicity around this film, if his cut was ever released, I think people would watch it. But, you know. Let's see. Okay, Justin says, hey guys, just a heads up. I'm getting friends reaching out saying they're having a lot of PR articles slandering me coming up on their feed. So obviously they're pushing these things out. So like Blake's PR led by Leslie Sloan was working overtime, which we can see. I'm not going to go over them tonight, but we can see in Leslie Sloan's exhibits that she was, in fact, despite her denying it, reaching out and planting negative stories about Justin. So, all right, let's see. He's sending more TikToks. Thanks for the help with this one. Hi, Melissa and team. Just woke up my flight and tons more texts coming through. Just wanted to check in. Okay, no big deals there. Jen says, just FYI, dropping tomorrow. Here's one of the teases. We all listened to the rough cut, as you know, and it's a great interview showcasing your character. So, like, again, they're boosting positive content for him. I don't really see what the big deal is with that. And then there's something here that bothers him. He says, what the hell is this? Really? Sony? He also puts a THR article there. It says, movie news, it ends with us, Sony Blake Lively. I don't know exactly what the title is because this is not clickable stuff, the links. So he says, this is all wrong, and they didn't buy the rights to produce the film because Blake has been trying to say to people apparently that she owned part of the film, which is not true. They didn't buy the rights to produce the film, so I guess Sony didn't buy the rights to produce it. They didn't produce the film. That is a blatant lie about her advancing domestic violence convos. So he's upset behind the scenes because she's trying to put out like these weirdo things saying she was trying to promote DV after she clearly embarrassed herself by failing to do so. All right. Jen says, it's complete BS. We were alerted by THR approximately 5 minutes before going live. And that's how you can see how the mainstream media, the legacy media, is so full of shit these days. Not only this one with THR, but also the New York Times, where they contact them right before they go live with this stuff after working with Blake Lively's team for months, days, whatever, and then saying, do you have a comment? So they can technically say they asked for comment, and then they go live shortly afterwards. It's fucking bullshit. But now we know how media works. And this case, I know that's gotten a lot of heat online from people who are just like, no one cares. There's so much going on in the world. I'm like, no, this is showing you how media works and how it kind of pits us against each other and how it, doesn't show both sides of the story. It's dishonest. So I think this case is actually very important in a lot of regards. So not only because our federal court system is being used to deal with this absolute bullshit, but also because it exposes how legacy media and shit like that, it's not reliable. Hang on one sec. I was asked to simulate nudity by my friend Zach here. This is simulated nudity. I will be suing Zach Peter for $400 million. I just wanted to let everyone know that. I could be buck naked under here, but you wouldn't know about it, right? It's not the same. Like, and this is the example I keep trying to use. She complains about simulated nudity. I'm like, simulated nudity is stupid because I'm not nude, but it looks like I am, right? Anyways, moving on. And this has basically been my entire life. Men just say, Lauren, take your top off, and I just do it. So just letting you know. You can't improvise without consent. Well, I'm the only person in the room, and I consented. So. All right, anyways. Let's see. We got these texts here. Hi, I'm Sony. He's making fun of Sony. He says, hi, I'm Sony. I'm going to cozy up to Ryan and erase Justin. And this is when he starts to get sassy finally, because these are like really nice people. It takes a lot to push them over the edge. And he says, let the fans handle, I guess. It's just crazy. Sony has no spine. And yet Jamie says they're doing their job. I think he and Jamie at one point kind of, they didn't like get into it, but he was like clearly annoyed and they had to like talk to each other and figure it out. But Jen says, I think we should collectively discuss our options here. Let's chat tomorrow, blah, blah, blah. They're figuring out a meetup. All right. Jen says, while this caught everyone off guard and feels horrible to have them take such a stance like this, I do feel it will backfire and not change the position we're in at all. If anything, it has turned the internet even more against Blake and Ryan because they have seen the press firsthand. Right. Justin says, I'd like to have a team call anyways. Right. Okay, sure. All right. Here's something from Jamie. It says, I spoke with Justin. Here's my honest thoughts. No, it's not perfect. There is some misinformation here for sure. And yet I see this as a win. And Jamie's like the voice of reason for everything. So it says, let her be praised by Sony. Who cares? It's not a bullet at us. Finally, there is an article that is not directed at Justin. And who knows? Maybe Blake and Ryan forced Sony to put something out on their behalf. And they almost certainly did, right? Even if they did it on their own volition, who cares? The industry knows the truth. We know the truth. Whether or not 12 or 100 fans read that and believe it, it does not matter. As I've said many times, Sony's job is to promote the movie and to make as much money as they can. That's the only reason why we partnered with them. And they are doing just that. I don't expect them to be any different than who they have always been and who they are. And the fact they are cozying up to Blake also makes sense. And these guys didn't know behind the scenes that they were calling Blake a terrorist. So, let's see. If they're even doing that, they are a business that is protecting their own bottom line. What Wayfair stands for is what Wayfair stands for, and I don't expect anyone else to. If we can get some things corrected, great. If not, who cares? And honestly, I don't care who Sony nestles up to. As long as they can put out a movie of ours and make money so that we can be Wayfarer and do what we do, then I'm good. Let's not lose sight of the big picture. Right now, that's keeping bullets away from you, Justin, away from me, and away from Wayfarer. And if that comes at the expense of her being praised, then so be it. And that is the win. And yet, I get it's frustrating. Like I said, this dude is always the voice of reason. This guy that she decided to attack after she realized her claims against Justin weren't going to hold up, she then tried to make him the poster boy for sexual harassment for what? Daring to look her in the eye when they were having a conversation, and for showing her while they were trying to come up with a concept for the birthing scene, a video of after a water birth, like with his wife in it. She's a psycho. She's a psycho. All right. Give me a minute. All right. Well said. He said, and then it's just more like he sends more like TikToks and stuff. Are we doing anything to influence this stuff, or is this real people helping and coming to my defense? Jen says, no bots, no fake accounts, none of that. Real people coming to your defense. Trust. It's astounding to see the enormous outpouring of support, but it's real. Justin says, people are thinking it's us and watch that video. Just want to be mindful of a swell turning. But you guys know this game. I've never been involved in anything before. Jen says, yeah, we saw and flagged that earlier. And of course, there are people who speculate and discuss and poke holes. That's how they make a living on the internet. I mean, that's kind of how we all do on the internet, right? The minority may feel loud, as we have discussed, but it's still the minority. Okay. Jamie says, yes, we are keeping eyes on it all, and yet let's not be dissuaded by the 10%. We know there will be people who fan the fire from the East, but if the majority are speaking from the West, then damn it, let's live in the West and simply keep an eye on the East. Yes, I'm now a poet. Also, it's late on the East Coast, and we are probably keeping people up. Let's go dark. Let me get to the next part here. We don't need to read that. Okay. Here's a message from Justin. It says, I'm a little more concerned about these TikToks claiming they know information, and there are some dark, disturbing stories about me that are going to break as they're getting DMs. And the only way that will be happening is if there are lies, right? Here's one that says from Melissa Nathan. It says, I personally am not concerned about this because we all know there are no dark and disturbing stories. It's just socials acting exactly how they always act in any situation. They want more clicks. They want more views. And at the end of the day, they will all be regurgitating complete rubbish. And I just want to point out, this is the business everybody here is in. So I would get off your high horse a little bit, Melissa. But I'm not a Melissa Nathan fan, as a lot of you guys know. So. And referencing the Australian podcast you saw, that's complete garbage. I can tell you, hand on my heart, there was 4 human women working on that trial, and I was one of them. Not one Russian bot in sight. It's actually very similar to what you're having right now. The outpouring of love and support being weaponized against you by her side because it can't be true. And I don't know if they're talking about the Rebel Wilson stuff with the Australian podcast or whatever. I'm not sure. But Melissa Nathan is somehow involved in this Rebel Wilson, Amanda Ghost thing, and I don't know enough about it to speak on it right now, but I'm just curious as to whether or not that's what they're talking about. So, okay. Justin says, I appreciate you walking me through this and holding my question. It's all a first for me, which is even more reason we are on your side, Melissa says, because you have never had one issue before. Right. Here, let's see, what are they saying here? Jen says, and why the internet is too, it's not bots. If I see that narrative one more time, I'm unleashing the Harvey article. She's clearly joking there, but like saying, if I see one more time, they're saying it's bots, I'm unleashing the Harvey article because everybody knows Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds are pretty big supporters of Harvey Weinstein and Woody Allen. One victim of Woody Allen even came out and said she was offended by Blake Lively and her kind of approach to this person being victimized by Woody Allen, and yet Blake Lively was silent. Then she buys her way into the Time 100, allegedly, and gives a speech about how she wants to protect every woman or some shit like that. Some stupid shit like that. So, all right. 60 Minutes Australia. I don't know, the 60 Minutes Australia that came out was way after these texts were sent, because this is all in August 2024. I saw the 60 Minutes Australia thing on this, and that was it must have been January or February, right? So these texts and the timeline for 60 Minutes Australia, I don't know if it adds up, unless there were 2 different segments on 60 Minutes Australia about this, in which case, maybe. So, we'll see. All right. Okay. Is there any way we could do earlier, Jen? I guess they're trying to meet. Okay, we're going to skim through some of this to my next mark. There's a nice article here, I guess, that involved Brandon Sklenar. And he's saying, or they're saying, this is huge. People have been pretty terrible. Nice to see them post it. My dad posted it a few days ago, but of course it was much more about Blake. But it was like nice stuff about the movie and the set or whatever. So they're saying they flagged that and they're going to boost it. Yeah, can we have digital team boost this interview, the positive interview? Okay. Call it a smear campaign, I guess. From Claire Wineland Mom, hi there. Is there anything we can do at Claire's place to help? Justin is talking about people who've reached out to him. He sends the text there. This is from a friend / my trainer. This to me feels like a post or something to amplify. So again, just like positive stuff, they're saying we should amplify that. In this interview or something with him, he talks about the news cycle and clickbait. So they're saying, let's boost this piece. Okay. Can I reshare on my stories and TikTok as a feed post? Bree says, this video is great and we have published it out digitally. In terms of you posting it yourself, I would avoid resharing anything that's essentially a response to negative feedback. As caption here is, responds to critics who say film glorifies DV. I think these next few days regarding what you post on your personal channels, we should focus more on the positive feedback, responses, continuing to highlight the themes of the film, etc. Also, the Brandon / people piece is blowing up online, getting great traction and reception. Great, thanks. Okay. So they're amplifying fan videos he made for people. They're amplifying positive stuff. Melissa, here is your friend. Yuck. And I don't know who he's talking about. I guess it's TikTok, but I can't see who he's talking about because it's like so hard to see if I zoom in, even it's blurry. And also, I can't click the attachments, so I'm not positive. But Melissa says, yes, but she's also giving you some good shout outs as well. She's doing both. She said she had no choice because she's inundated. Justin says, seems a bit biased, but I'm also sensitive. Okay. Justin says, Colleen just texted this to us. First time we've heard from her. Can someone please send Jamie the actual context of what I said so he can respond to Colleen? This should be on video recorded from the rap. I never said I changed his fate. I said I didn't want to see him at the end of the movie as it was too complicated to explain how he was co-parenting and would draw too many people in, and she agreed. So Colleen apparently agreed to this narrative that Ryle wasn't in the end of the movie because it was too complicated to explain him and the co-parenting relationship in those few minutes. And she agreed. Yet the headline that the media ran with, I think, was Justin Baldoni explains why he changed the ending for Ryle or something that wasn't exactly on target. Colleen got very upset with them. So he says, this has nothing to do with the book, and we don't control the rap and the headlines, just as we don't control all the negative and untrue things she and Blake have been saying about me and the controversy they created. We haven't leaked anything, and we've taken the high road the whole time, even after she betrayed me and ghosted me. Okay. One sec, guys. All right. Jen says, Jamie and I spoke. They're deleting the post, so the rap even deleted the post. Take this opportunity, open up the dialogue with her, apologize, communicate that if you read the interview, it doesn't mean he's cut out of the sequel, but it was the decision of how to end the film. You explained it all in quotes within. Use this opportunity to connect with her and commiserate with what she's going through and how much you care about her and how that hasn't changed even when she turned her back on you and left you to fend for yourself. She is getting a ton of hate and backlash from the DV community, and now the DV community is not going to feel much better towards her, because I'll tell you right now, I'm not going to read them tonight, but the text between her and Ryan, the emails between her and Ryan, showed that she mocked DV survivors who had criticisms of her marketing the book and shit like that, calling them 13-year-olds who basically don't know what they're talking about, which is not a great look for her. And she can thank Blake for that. So, all right. The post has been deleted. You can say you've done nothing but honor her in her book and you want to have a conversation and you miss the relationship you had, blah, blah. Okay. Justin says, can we please have a regroup with everyone, including Melissa? I'm sorry. I don't have the capacity right now in this moment to be the bigger person and to do that. You have to remember that it was her betrayal, Colleen, he's saying Colleen's betrayal, that landed me in the hospital. It's been devastating to me. Because she pretends like they didn't know each other, but they were friends for 5 fucking years. 5 years. That's how long he was working on this shit. And Colleen got played. I'm sorry, but Colleen's just dumb. I agree. Colleen acted like a fucking moron in all of this. All right. This message makes my blood boil. The message he got from her. Fully understand and respect that. Jamie is working through a response. Instead of thinking on this as an olive branch, this is a tactical art of war approach. They're just trying to help him basically do what he needs to do. If Colleen can come around and is willing to open up lines of communication, that would be a massive message to the world that this issue solely relates to Blake and not to all of the women, right? And then they are talking about when they could meet up and talk. So I'm just getting that. Okay. Justin says, I'm going to dictate something. Jamie, add this to your text message back to her in any part that you want, but this is just what I need to say. Hang on, let me see. I think it's possible that message was revised, but yeah, it is there. So he's talking to them about, can you help me draft this message, basically? And then Jen comes back with some notes. And we're going to read the message here. It says, Justin, please know that I'm not saying this to dismiss your completely warranted feelings about this, but I would be remiss if I didn't advise that I feel strongly about you also responding from the heart, since you are also on this text. It may be a futile attempt, but think of this as part of the larger strategy. I drafted something in case you might consider. Okay. So she forwards back to him this message with, I guess, some notes. It says, Justin is not out to hurt anybody, and there hasn't been one lie that has come out of his mouth. All he's been doing is singing the praises of you and everybody else and sticking to the message of the movie, which you knew he cared about from the beginning. He asked you about the second book to understand the trajectory of Ryle's character as he was developing the script, which you also understood as he included you on that decision. The above headline is taken completely out of context, but it is not our doing, as there is a PR war going on, and we are the ones that are not leaking anything or trying to destroy anybody. Because Leslie Sloan, which we'll see in other messages on background, was absolutely trying to destroy these people. And she acts like she's some sort of victim in all this. But Blake's PR person was doing all this crazy stuff in the background. And the reason we don't see their messages like this is they're not suing Blake for retaliation. So it's not fair. It's one-sided. The things we're seeing, they're one-sided. But that's all we got. Because Justin is not suing her for certain types of things. Or he tried to sue for defamation, but the judge threw it out, which is something they can appeal. But it's going to be a while before they can do that because he has to rule on fees first. So just to let you guys know, if you're concerned, like, only one side of the PR war is being shown here. We don't see Leslie's text messages. We don't see that kind of stuff. We see a little bit, but not much. And we're going to go over that another time. So, all right. Anyways, Jen goes on to say, he asked you about the second book to understand the trajectory of Ryle's character. The above headline is taken into context. The entire situation was set up to be a smear campaign against Justin, and it clearly backfired. Justin didn't want any of this, as he's loved and adored you for 5 years. If you already read the interview, you'll see he says exactly as it happened, which was a decision that you also supported. It had nothing to do with the second book, or not wanting to be a part of it as an actor, or changing Ryle's fate. It had everything to do with, after seeing an edit of the movie, realizing that we did not need to open up a can of worms and show an abuse or co-parenting without showing all the necessary work that had to happen to make that possible. You also know this as he involved you every step of the way. Wayfarer is also not talking and are not firing back. We are continually speaking highly of everyone. We did not ask to be in the situation. This was all created and easily could have been avoided. So that was the message I guess Justin came up with, and then she made some edits. She says, whoops, that's your message, 1 sec. And then she makes some edits, but I'm not... Okay, so that just was Justin's message copied. I got it. Okay, so basically, she supported his decision about the end of the movie not to show him co-parenting, because it was like they didn't show all the work that it goes into co-parenting with someone who is abusive in a relationship with you, and all the therapy and all that stuff that he would have to go through to be a good co-parent. And they were just like, we don't want to show that. So, and then the media, who runs with salacious headlines no matter what, put out a headline that Colleen didn't like, and she was like, it's Justin's fault, basically. So the things that Colleen got upset with Justin for were like way out of his control. It's nuts. Wait till you read the unsent letter Justin wrote to Colleen. I mean, I think I've seen it, but we'll get there. Well, not during this stream, but yeah. Justin should not respond right now except for anything other than to validate what I said, which Jamie's saying this. You are full of emotion. He's talking to Justin, and you were react, and it could be add to the fire instead of us trying to put it out. The last thing we need is Colleen speaking publicly about you in a negative way. That's all that matters right now, is to put out the fire. He says, I understand. Okay. So Jen says, okay, I will stand down, but leaving this here. Colleen, from my heart, there has not been one lie that has come out of my mouth. I've been sticking to the same message of the movie, which you know I cared deeply about from the beginning. The headline is taken out of context, which you will see from the interview. I have loved and adored you for the past 5 years, and that hasn't changed even. So, like, Colleen and Justin were friends. Jamie and Colleen did have a good relationship for several years, and then she wants to pretend that she, like, didn't know them. You see in her deposition, she was like, I don't really know them very well, and that's obviously not fucking true. You can even see her emails with Justin in the beginning. So it was her idea for him to play the lead male character. Let's see. Jamie Heath says, I agree. Follow up with that. Assume that Blake will see it. Assume that she could leak it. It should only be loving remarks, but I do think you should follow up to my message. Okay. And then Justin has a message here that he kind of edits a couple times. It says, Colleen, I'm sorry you're hurting. I want you to know there's not been one lie. And it's kind of the same message as before, but a little bit shorter even. Okay. So when are we speaking? They're setting up a meeting there. He's still drafting that message to Colleen, which is, it doesn't change much, though. I like this. Did you send? Yes. I know how much this absolutely sucks, but that was a smart strategic move, if that helps at all. Okay. And then Melissa says, if this was ever shared, it still looks great and honest. Okay. So Justin is showing them what Colleen responded to that message. So this is what Colleen said back in response. It says, it just feels like I'm on an island here when the hate is being directed at me. You guys posting that article, Colleen, they didn't post it. Okay, but regardless, let's go back to the message. And Colleen says, you guys posting that article and allowing it to fuel the comments is hurtful. And the timing of it just feels like you're worried about your image, but not the women who are behind this story. I know things took an awful turn, and I felt forced to choose when I did not want to. But the back and forth articles from both camps are just so upsetting and ridiculous. Colleen Hoover was absolutely not forced to choose. She chose because it would benefit her. She wasn't thinking about her friends, and now she's trying to distance herself from them because she would be better off siding with the Hollywood elites. Simple as that. That's not what they wrote here. That's what I'm saying. But all right, let's go back to the text message here. She says, everyone is out there trying to save themselves, and now this has turned into a huge mess. And I know you guys think I've made decisions for certain reasons, but I have felt the rift from long before I was ever in contact with Blake. Right. Okay, sure, Colleen. I mean, we've seen how things went down now. Colleen is a snake, but all right. Anyways, back to what Colleen was saying. It started with me not being allowed to read the script until I was sat with readers. And then all the interviews made it seem like you included me in the script from the beginning. Then the whole documentary thing where I said no so very many times. And the book where when I asked you guys to at least donate a portion of the proceeds to DV. And then I was told the only way a donation would be made is if I took 1% and donated that myself. Then the whole tattoo thing, all the texts of you blaming Blake for that. And reiterating that she didn't read the book every time I just try to ask you what to say to readers. I have been disappointed personally by your actions many times. I appreciate that you haven't directly said anything negative. That's how it should be. But you are grown men with a platform. You know how to use it to protect your image. Please don't continue to use it to harm me or mine. That's all I'm asking. They were not doing anything to harm Colleen Hoover. That's what's so ridiculous about this message. So like, she's saying the rift happened long before she was ever in contact with Blake, but it was actually about Blake. So they had that dinner. Then she started to feel, she claims after that dinner, she started to feel like she wanted to distance herself, but really she says it here. She says it all here. It's about how she wasn't allowed to participate in the script the way she wanted to or when she wanted to. It was about them thinking about doing a documentary or a book. And she didn't want to, but she sold them the rights. It's not her right. This is not harassment. Colleen sided with Blake and Ryan because it would benefit her more. It is what it is. And now that's why, like, some of these people are so silent now for a reason. There's a reason for that. So if you're feeling wild, I have Oreo dippers, like hand/snacks where you dip the cookie in the cream. I want some. Shit. Let me read these real quick and then we'll move on. Veronica H. Song, thank you for the 30. Hi, all creators, love you all. That's why I must tell all of you that you are missing something so important about Megan Toohey. Would love to share. It's common knowledge, yet it's never brought up. Well, you got to email it to me because that's where I'll see it. Otherwise, I'd miss stuff. Rock Mama 904, thank you for becoming a new member. Appreciate that. Okay, Bella, thank you for the $2. Jamie equals CEO. Jamie to Blake equals toilet paper carrier. That's definitely true, right? If you feel comfortable asking the CEO of the studio that's producing the movie to bring you toilet paper or complaining to him about it, you have enough power on the set. Lindsay, thank you for the $20 super sticker. I appreciate you. And I like your dog in the profile picture there. I appreciate that. All right. Okay. Let's move on here. So we read that text there. He's sending screenshots to them. I can't see the screenshots. Even if I zoom in, it's like too blurry. So I'm not really sure exactly what all was said here. He's also sending them a TikTok. I think I'm going to go down to here. It says, just wanted to share that we skipped some parts, but we have to move on to what we can see. This was how Isabella Ferrer thanked me, and now she won't say my name. So he shows them the message. And of course, we know Isabella's version of events now, which is so terrible. Such a comfortable, safe space, she says, and have a ton of he says, and have a ton of fun bro friend text with me and Brandon having a bromance for a year and then nothing. So Isabella and Brandon really just betrayed him the way that Colleen did. Tag, this one is for you. There's a TikTok there. Jen says, my God, this is incredible. Okay. Matthew Mitchell says, genius. Oh my God, Melissa, Brianna, and Katie, you did a great job with this creator. This is where they're being sarcastic, guys. You did a great job with this creator. Jen says, wow. Melissa says, checking my room for cameras. And Blake leaves this text out. When Blake produced these text messages in her complaint, she makes it sound like you did a great job with this creator, as if they totally talked to them, and like removes anything that could indicate sarcasm, like checking my room for cameras, because that creator was suddenly saying everything that they were thinking, because people are allowed to form their own opinions based on public information. Justin then says, in other news, Ryan unblocked me and Emily so he could spy on us. She had a feeling and checked, and she could see his name, and then I checked, and I could search him as well. I couldn't search him a week ago. My God. And from what I've seen in Ryan's emails, Ryan is like chronically online like a lot of other people. And I'm like, if I was a Ryan Reynolds and I played Deadpool, like you could not pay me to be bothered by online sentiment the way these people are. But Ryan Reynolds was almost certainly behind the subpoenas to me and Cassidy and other content creators. I was just like, no, I don't fucking like you, dude. And that sucks because I was a fan of Blake and Ryan before, right? But they acted like a bunch of jackasses and now I don't like them. You didn't need to subpoena me to find that out, but I had to tell it to a federal judge, didn't I? So, all right. Jamie, please put text here and not email. So Jamie's talking about, I think, a response to Colleen. Jamie says, I'm deeply sorry to hear about the pain you're experiencing. Feeling alone on an island is just terrible. I want you to know with all sincerity that my team hasn't engaged in anything that would harm you, and they have not contributed to any negative articles. My heart breaks when I think about the distance that has grown between us, especially when I've always valued our collaboration and friendship so deeply. Jamie puts something here. I don't think we need the following paragraph at all, as there's no need to make this about you right now. We shouldn't ask for sympathy at this moment. Okay. I want to share how difficult it has been for me too, especially when the film, which I poured so much of my heart into, was taken out of my hands. Okay, so this is Jamie's like editing Justin's potential response to Colleen. Okay. I've remained silent as fans began to wonder why I wasn't part of the press or even the photos of the premiere. Being uninvited from Book Bonanza without any explanation left me feeling lost and hurt. Not being allowed to share the premiere with you and instead waiting in a basement until I was escorted to a separate theater with my friends and family who had come to celebrate was incredibly painful. Still, I did so out of respect for the movie and not wanting to derail the celebration of it. So Colleen has the nerve to be like, how dare you, after he did all this stuff to make sure that there was no bad press for Colleen's book and the film. I know a lot has happened since we first worked on the script together, and you feel as though you weren't included before the fan reading. My God, get over it. You sold the rights to the book. A lot of people don't get this kind of collaboration. They're just told to suck it up. And they still try to include her, and she's like, oh my God, how dare you? Let's see. As an effort to remind you, we sent you the script beforehand in July of 2022, where you responded with such positivity, noting how pleased you were that it stayed true to the book, and you even shared your notes with me. I'm happy to share those screenshots if you like. They're like, we can show you where you told us this was fine. All right. Regarding the documentary, I want you to know that while we may have tried to ease some of your concerns regarding being on camera, we always intended to respect your wishes, which is why we never moved forward. So they didn't even do a documentary. Okay. It was only an idea meant to bring fans closer to a story that means so much to so many. Regarding the coffee book donation, legally, Wayfair couldn't donate the 1% on your behalf as you graciously requested. It wasn't a demand from us, but a legal requirement we were asked to relay. As for the tattoo, I'm so glad you pointed out the importance of it to the fans and the DB community while we were early in the edit. We were more than happy to change it in post, and the film is better for it. I'm grateful for your insight. I completely own that. I vented about many things regarding production and the post process, and I can fully understand that could have been a load too heavy to carry. Please know that my door is always open to you. I truly hope we can talk and rebuild our friendship. This isn't about any image for me. It's about reconnecting with someone I care about deeply. I hope this might be a step towards healing and celebrating this film together. So Jamie's helping him brainstorm some of this response that he came up with to send to Colleen. And he's saying, I don't think we need the following paragraph in this part, but we read the whole thing. So, dude, this is insane. This is insane. Like he talked to her about how he was feeling and what happened on set. And she took advantage of that because she wasn't getting everything that she wanted. It's nuts. All right. They're talking about something else with press there. He can reach out and do an interview. Flagging that Alex reposted your post, Justin. I think that was Alex Sachs. It could have been Alex Newstander, but I think it was Alex Sachs. And then he just says, good for her. Because I think he's like really fucking annoyed at this point. Jen says, I like this era of Justin. What are thoughts on Jamie's text? And they have like updated here, but there's not too much different. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to read that a million times. So I have a couple of revisions if that's okay, says Jen. And then I think we can tone it down just a bit. Give me a sec. And then this is her version of it. I don't know if there's really, I think she just takes out some bits. Let me see. At the end there, it says, I took this on because of your trust in me to tell the story, and I truly want this communication to be the first step to healing for us both. If you feel comfortable speaking, I'd really like for us to find some time to connect by phone, but I will take your lead. Okay. Yeah, it looks like she didn't change much. She just took a little bit out. Made 2 quick changes, says Jamie. Okay, we've seen enough of this message, to be honest. We get the tone. We get the point, okay? And I guess they sent it. Said, otherwise it's all good. Let's send it. Or should we send it to the bank clerk to get his thoughts? Also, I'm assuming that has to be Steve they're joking about, right? Who is the bank clerk? Matthew says, no, can't risk him leaking it. It's either Justin or Steve that they're talking about. Okay, so you feel I should say that last bit about talking on the phone. Jen says, I added that because I felt it was a genuine want to reconnect that you would also ask to speak on the phone. So before we move on in these text messages, which we don't have too much more to go through, but I want to point out this email from Colleen Hoover to Sony. Okay. These are the Sony reps that she's talking to. So Colleen here is talking about the film's premiere. She says, first and foremost, I'm excited for the movie and all that comes with it. I'm extremely grateful for all that has gone into it. I in no way do I want to deny support for the film, especially after being invited by Blake to have a small hand in seeing it through. Wonder why she went the way she did. I will say that I'm concerned about everything happening behind the scenes and the positions I've been put in, which is why I feel much more comfortable having this conversation over email. Sure, lady. Ange, you mentioned the book in our brief convo before I got cut off, but I want to make it clear that my publisher pulled his book. I'm not sure what anyone heard or was told, but based on some unhappy texts I received from Justin's agent, they're assuming I had the book pulled, and I don't want there to be any confusion. I think they're talking about the coffee table book about the making of the film, which Blake's attorney sent a cease and desist over. So yeah, they had it pulled. Okay. I did not request they pull it. In fact, I had already approved it. I think she doesn't know that Blake did this stuff is the problem. She didn't know that Blake sent a cease and desist. Okay. But after seeing the file that went to print was not at all the file they sent me for approval, not even close, I let my publisher know I wouldn't be promoting it as I felt lied to regarding what the content was supposed to be. Well, yeah, because Blake sent a cease and desist and said, do not use me in this. So the cast was like mostly removed. What else were they supposed to do? What they did after that was their choice, but I know there's some misinformation out there, so I hope you understand when I ask that any future communication from this point forward regarding this movie go through email. It isn't personal, I promise. It's just to protect myself in these sticky situations of he said, she said. It sounds pretty much like she said, Colleen. It sounds like she said, you weren't even listening to the other side of the story. As for the premiere, I feel I have been asked to make huge decisions, and I'm honestly not comfortable with it anymore. In a way, I feel like a scapegoat, as though I'm being used as an excuse for anyone having to deliver unfavorable news to Wayfarer. I have felt backed into a corner more than once with the choices I've been asked to make. So let's think about this paragraph. As for the premiere, I feel I've been asked to make huge decisions, and I'm not comfortable with it anymore. Okay, so she's not comfortable making decisions, but she says, I feel like a scapegoat. I'm being used as an excuse for anyone delivering bad news. Why are you delivering bad news if you're uncomfortable with making huge decisions or taking a side? Kind of think you're full of shit. Okay. I have felt backed into a corner more than once with the choices I've been asked to make. You literally didn't have to make these choices. You literally didn't have to send this email. None of this had to happen. Okay. Am I going to be comfortable if Justin is there? No. Things are beyond uncomfortable at this point, but my comfort isn't my priority. Interesting. Okay. So she was uncomfortable because Justin told her what happened on the set about the sexy comment and how things went weird and how he was concerned. And then you were like, I'm so uncomfortable talking about this, that you went straight to Blake and started shit talking Justin to her. And then, latched onto her power and influence to get what you wanted regarding the film. Colleen Hoover's a jackass. All right. I'm used to being neutral, but this is a situation that has... What is neutral about this? What is neutral about what you're doing right now? I'm used to being neutral, but this is a situation that has required some firm decisions on everyone's part, and I don't like upsetting people or choosing sides, so let me just do it privately in this email. Let me just not talk to Justin or Jamie anymore so I don't have to face the consequences of my actions, because that would be uncomfortable. I would be uncomfortable. Okay, I know what it's like to feel uncomfortable and not want to be involved and to be stuck in the middle of things, but she absolutely did not have to do that. Okay? All right. Can I promise I'll go if he and his team are all there? I can't promise that. I go back and forth every day between continuing to show up for this movie or going into hiding because it's all causing me anxiety and bringing attention that I'm not prepared for / used to. That's because you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation that you absolutely should have stayed out of. At most, she should have heard both sides and stayed the fuck out of it. But here she is saying, I'm not comfortable taking sides while taking a side. Okay? Of course, in a perfect world, we'd set it all aside and everyone would smile for the cameras, but feelings have been hurt and boundaries have been crossed. I can see where Blake is coming from if she chooses not to attend, because if I were in her shoes, I'm not so sure I would be able to stomach seeing someone else accept credit and accolades for what was also a huge, massive effort on her part, and having to share what she should be a celebratory moment with people you absolutely can't celebrate with. So she's basically like, I hate who Blake hates, because Blake let her have a hand in the editing and cut of the film in a way she was not entitled to legally. So this is kind of crazy. Like, he was the director. He reached out to her in the beginning. He was the whole reason her, book came to life through film. They were friends, and she totally betrayed him. And this is disgusting. It really is. But saying that I'm not so sure I could stomach seeing someone else accept credit and accolades for what was a huge effort on Blake's part. What about Justin's? You were there from the beginning when you sold him the rights. What the fuck? He worked on this much, much longer than Blake did and much harder. Wow. Based on what I've seen and know, I would personally choose to support her that night in whatever her decision ends up being. What I don't want is Sony's decision or Justin's attendance or lack thereof to be placed solely on my shoulders. And yet here you are placing it on your shoulders. And I definitely don't want to be a scapegoat. Well, congrats. You got what you didn't want. I don't know what else to add. I do hope to see you guys at the premiere, but if that ends up not happening for any reason, please know I will only ever have positive things to say publicly. And mind you, she says positive things to say publicly because Colleen Hoover went and leaked things to the press for Blake Lively during this. So Blake could say she didn't leak anything to press during the truce. It was Colleen. What a bitch. Aside from the issues at hand, it really has been a wonderful experience, and you guys did the book such justice, and I'm forever and truly grateful for that. Okay. Well, I would be grateful if you would shut the fuck up, to be honest. So, that email is so gross. So gross. Ugh. Okay. This is crazy unprofessional. I agree. She's like, well, I don't want to get involved, but do what Blake wants, but I don't want to get involved. That's so fucking stupid. Colleen. Okay. Well, Look, guys, I know we've seen in the press that she announced that she had cancer or whatever, and I wish her well in that regard. I don't wish cancer on anybody. I'm not like pleased about that. I'm not gonna be like, well, you deserve, because she doesn't, nobody deserves cancer, right? Like, it's just, that was insane. That was so vindictive, in my opinion. So, all right, anyways, back to these messages. I think we can get through the rest of it pretty quick. All right, we're good there. Jamie's worried. He's like, check TMZ every 30 seconds because he's worried, rightfully, that Colleen is going to leak that shit and be like, oh my God, there's drama. You know what I mean? Because honestly, I wouldn't trust Colleen either at that point. Matthew says, stop. This was a good step in an olive branch of sorts. Try not to let this consume you. You put the energy into a thoughtful and genuine reply. Take a moment to breathe and take comfort knowing you led with your heart. And these actions are where you've taken the highest of high roads. Thanks, Michelle. In an effort to truly put the message and work of this film first and for those it's helping. This is what's going on behind the scenes with these people. And Colleen and Blake are like, they're terrible. He's Johnny Depp. Okay. Let's see. We're good there. Okay. So I guess Colleen wrote back again and said, I did mistype and say read the script, but I meant I wasn't allowed to discuss the script when we sat with readers or speak in the meeting about the script. You asked me not to say anything. Listen, she declined to write the script with him. He literally said, do you want to co-write the script with me? She said, no. No, I don't work like that. Like, what the fuck else are they supposed to do? I'm aware I read the script. I'm not saying I had a problem with it. I don't need proof of me saying I liked it. I did love the script and I love the movie and I support it always. I think you guys did a fantastic job making this film and I loved Blake's edits also. I'll never say otherwise and spoke so highly of everyone on my press tour, even though the media wants to spread that you weren't mentioned. I sang everyone's praises. My issues lie in things I've learned since then and experiences I personally had with you. And I'm not about to go back and forth on the stuff above that's written in a way that will protect you if it gets leaked. Oh my God. So she's saying, I don't want to say anything nice to you just in case anyone finds out. I don't want to protect you just in case anyone finds out. That's paranoid as fuck. Why do you think she's paranoid as fuck? My God. What an asshole. I also have screenshots I can share with you as you offered above, like the ones where I simply asked about the tattoo and you blamed it on Blake more than once. I know that Blake is not to blame for the tattoo. And the point I was making is that twice I was lied to about in that text in what felt like an attempt to get to me to dislike her. So like Blake is just saying to her, no, I didn't do that. And she's like, oh, that must be true. They're a bunch of bitches. You know what I mean? Like that's insane. This is insane. If she really wanted to be neutral and stay out of it, she should have stayed the fuck out of it. This is insane. But you call it venting, so we disagree here. I'm walking away from this for a few months. I don't have a PR team, and I have no idea how to respond to this. No one from either studio has advised how to navigate what is happening the last couple days. I hope Wayfair or Sony at least reach out and offer some support to Isabella and Alex. They're very new to this, and I'm worried about them if they're also not being reached out to with advice or resources. You know who's reaching out to them? Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. We saw what happened. Okay. Surely there's some kind of therapist referral list on hand that can be provided to them if one hasn't been already. Yeah, because God knows they should reach out and help them when they're going to say, oh my God, Justin's harassing me. He texted me. Like, fuck that. As for us, I feel like we can agree to disagree on our experiences. I don't see a relationship in the future, as I don't think I can trust anyone from this process to be a part of my life. But I wish no one ill will. Onward. Okay, so like, she's saying I don't trust anyone to be a part of my life, but she goes with Blake, who gives her what she wants and doesn't mind trashing Justin and talking to him like this, right? Jen Abel says onward. So Justin, I guess, writes a couple of versions of this. Let's get to the last one. How about that? Justin says, I'm writing this to get out of my system. I'm not sending it. So this is a response to that message that he never sent to Colleen. But this is what he was feeling at the time. So he never sent this message, but just saying. I'm sorry to hear this, but I need to express how I feel. Why didn't you come to me if something bothered you? We had open communication and a friendship. You knew the effort and sacrifices that went into this film from the beginning, and you were always included. Your thoughts and opinions were always respected, so I don't understand why you wouldn't have just talked to me. I didn't lie to you about the tattoo, though in hindsight, I shouldn't have blamed Blake. I was upset she didn't read the book, amongst many other things. After your text, I revisited the original designs of the Hallowed Heart, and you're right, Blake wasn't to blame. That was my mistake. The original design missed the opening in the middle, and Blake had commissioned a tattoo artist to design it to her liking without even consulting me. I assumed the first design had the opening, but I realized that was a detail I missed in the chaos. I understand why you felt deceived, but it wasn't my intention. So Colleen's making this huge deal about how there wasn't a gap in the tattoo, but Blake commissioned someone to design that, and she never read the book, so she didn't know there was a gap. And even now, Justin is trying his best to be nice and kind. Even this message where he's venting and not even going to send. It's like, well, I guess it wasn't Blake's fault. There was a lot of chaos, so I didn't pay attention. It was Blake's fault. She didn't read the book. Wow. I understand why you felt deceived, but it wasn't my intention. I was pissed at her and venting, which was the first time I did that with you. And if you felt uncomfortable, I wish you would have told me. I would have apologized immediately. The last time we spoke, you complimented me and expressed your gratitude for my efforts to honor the book. Then suddenly you disappeared, and I learned from the studio that you would only promote Blake's cut of the movie. I was forced to step down and let her finish the film, even though it performed worse. You cut off all communication, unfollowed me along with the rest of the cast. I was devastated. At that dinner, I told you everything that happened, including my mistakes. I don't know what was said behind the scenes, but this entire situation could have been avoided if we had communicated like mature adults. My God. I have not engaged in any PR to harm anyone. Instead, I was isolated, excluded from the process, and treated like an outcast. I had to do all the press on my own, and I wasn't even invited to my own premiere. When I did attend, I was relegated to a basement with my family and friends, separated from everyone else, and told to leave early and that we could not attend our own after party. I don't know what terrible things you heard about me that would be deserving of your actions, but all I can say is that what you all did was heartbreaking, and it has deeply affected my life and family. This wasn't just about the film. It was a betrayal of our friendship, and to be okay with Blake and Ryan running a smear campaign against me and leak their grievances to the press after taking over the film and excluding me from the press and premiere when all of this could have just been handled like mature adults makes it even more heartbreaking. But yes, onward. And I just want to point out there, Blake, before ever coming out with this press about a smear campaign, read these messages that Justin was sending to Colleen saying Blake was running a smear campaign against him. She took the smear campaign narrative, took it to the New York Times with her selective texts. The New York Times ran with just her side of the story, even though the New York Times had this. They didn't put this in their story. They read it and they said, let's just leave that out. The New York Times did this on purpose because Blake Lively and Taylor Swift have all the power in the world and they want to stay connected to WME's celebrities. They didn't run with this side of the story even though they had it over a year ago. They never said a damn word about it. Disgusting. All right. And just to be sure, these are text messages produced by the Van Zandt subpoena. So yes, the New York Times had them. And the New York Times left it out on purpose because Megan Twohey doesn't really care about female victims. Megan Twohey just wants her name in lights. That's it. Taylor Swift can give it to her. Blake Lively can give it to her. Ryan Reynolds can give it to her. She didn't give a shit about women and how they were treated on set. As far as I'm concerned, she's just as much of a bitch as the rest of them. So that is so disappointing. Disgusting. All right. So it moves down to different pages. They're saying Justin crossed 100 million. I don't know on what, but congrats. This is the type of detail we focus on to start driving towards a more positive narrative. Okay. There's a lot of stuff we can skip over here. I don't know who this is from. Jennifer and Matthew. Hi, Justin. Congrats on the opening of It Ends With Us. I've been traveling, but looking forward to seeing it in the theater. The issue of DV is very important to me. I serve on the board of Tubman. Staff is doing life-saving work in Minneapolis. Okay. I have a request and an opportunity, so they're asking him to be on our radio interview, basically, which he likes. He says, he's emailing you now. I trust him. He put Zach on the radio and helped his song go viral. That's how I found Zach. Okay, cool. He says, not a huge outlet, but meaningful. So obviously that means something to him. Here's my thoughts on the video. Can we tweak a thing or two? Might he mention something more directly about the kids? Might he also be more specific about how we've made this to protect harm and we shouldn't be harming real life cast? Maybe. However, with that said, this is what people want. This is Justin. We're talking, Jamie's talking here. Put this out or a version of this out. Not a surprise. These are my thoughts. The pluses outweigh the minuses. Okay. So they're talking about that interview, I guess, or that video. I'm not sure. Here they're going back to talking about different articles. Justin says, is this true? What a random article. And of course, it's a TMZ article. The TMZ article says Blake Lively not addressing feud. He says, is this true? What a random article. She just wanted the internet to cancel me instead. Updated headline, Blake has no plans to publicly address the feud she hoped fans would address for her. That's funny. All right. And then there's another one that KDK sends. It says, Blake Lively hair care launch not meant to coincide with It Ends With Us. What do you mean? She literally used the movies to market her hair care line. Yikes. Okay. Let's see. Another interesting one. Full damage control, he says. I wonder if another source can say the reason we have an August release was because she refused to promote the movie and insisted on infringing on the director's editorial rights. Obviously, he's being sarcastic there. They didn't actually do anything with that. It says, Bree from Tag says, this looks crazy. Everyone's saying she needs to just stop. All of these stories and backtracking. She was literally self-imploding in front of everyone's eyes. And then she's like, they did a smear campaign. My God. Matthew says, what's that, Michelle? Oh, right. They go low. We go high. Good energies and positivity will set us free. Your faith and profound belief have helped you rise above the chatter, and we have helped keep you here. God, these people are demons, right? My God. They picked like the biggest goofy goobers to go after in the press. I swear. Okay. So this is from Jen Abel. It says, updated suggested script. We just spoke to Jamie. He has a few thoughts on a potential reposition. We will stand by as you guys workshop further. I encourage everyone to read that TMZ article. It's very strategic in our opinion. The quotes about the entire cast standing by her to create further divide. For the video, it was also a little too slow. I think you can still be thoughtful but mindful of the pacing to ensure people listen to the whole thing, and also media when pulling quotes. So he did some video that he was drafting with them, but here's what Jen says it should be. Hey, everyone. I just wanted to make a video. I'm not going to ignore what's happening. It's been a crazy week and a half, and I'm so honored we all are here at Wayfarer, that this film that we have all poured our lives into is being so well received and all over the world. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's gone to see the movie, to all people who have gone to see the movie. Thank you. Thank you for showing up. We would not be here if it weren't for Colleen, who trusted us with her story, and for our partners at No More, who put so much time into guiding us. I underestimated how prevalent the issue is, and I especially want to say thank you to all of you who are coming out and sharing your stories. That is why we made the movie. That's it. I always said if there was just one person who saw this film, read the story, and felt brave enough to leave their abusive relationship, it would have been worth it. And to those who have sent messages, left comments, DMs, everything, I can't even begin to tell you how much this has all touched me and our team. Thank you. But with that, I want to remind everybody that that's what we should be focused on: the bravery, the strength, the education, the resources. That's what this is all about. The noise is starting to overpower the message, and I want to urge all of us to refocus on the issue. Without the people in this film, the entire cast, the crew, everyone involved, none of this will be possible. Everyone deserves to be celebrated right now. That's all I wanted to say. I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Go see the film if you haven't already, and remember to lead with kindness. Thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Oof. Still, after everything, this is the kind of message they're trying to put out. It's nuts. Not to be shared on socials, but this is a nice video, Justin. So I guess something that he sent. Okay. Anything new today? Not on my end. Nothing that would affect you story-wise, they say. Jen tells him, paparazzi caught you and Emily out getting coffee. And he's like, what? I had no idea, basically. He says, how is that possible? That's why I wanted to post the Zach and Claire post. Let's see. Backgrid photo. So a photographer found him and his wife getting coffee. And he was like, wow, we had no idea. And people think I staged it. All right. I had no idea that could happen in Ojai. It's a tiny town. Should we start to be prepared for that stuff? And since they've left Ojai, they moved out of town. So that's not something that needs to be private anymore. They do not live in Ojai now. So, all right. Okay. I mean, Jen says, nothing to prepare for. Pops are being more mindful of capturing children because they've been sued so many darn times. And the nicer you are and more willing to say hi, the easier they will be on you. Just keep being you and doing your thing. You're not someone we worry about. Yeah. Justin says we didn't even see them. Yeah. He's talking about a post here, an Instagram post. It says, this is an incredible post from someone we worked with on Man Enough. He nailed it as it was my exact intention. Something I could post and then this message isn't coming from me and honoring victims. So he's trying to boost this post honoring victims as he wished to do with the movie. So Jen says, let's boost this instead of you posting it. Some of the comments reference Colleen romanticizing DV, which is a criticism a lot of people have had of her well before this movie. And we don't want it to be interpreted as a dig at anyone. I know the video has nothing to do with it, but let's instead have third parties amplify instead of you right now. Right. So they're not trying to like have Justin come out and be like, Colleen's out. You know what I mean? So, all right. Okay. He's asking them here about his fashion choices. I don't really know what to say about that. And I think we've actually seen these before. So he's asking them about white Converse instead of blue, blah, blah, blah. You guys know that's not really up my alley. So, okay. Apparently they got stuck in an elevator at AMC, which they were talking about boosting a funny post there. Okay. We're almost done here, guys. Bear with me. Yes, definitely. Let's boost these, the funny videos, I guess. I sent our digital team the videos that were shot, and they will edit something funny together for next week to post. Justin says, hey, tag team, I've been seeing some Instagram comments on random posts defending me by people who are private with no followers, and they feel like bots. Can you please confirm we are not doing any of that? I really don't want bots defending me, as it feeds into their potential narrative. Melissa says, I can fully confirm we do not have bots. This is not what we do. Bots look fake to anyone. Well, Blake does, because I saw bots on Blake's post like yesterday, which is hilarious. But the other team is doing something very specific in terms of what they do. I know Jamie and Jed connected on this. Bots and fan accounts also run pretty organically by now with the AI platforms and Google Analytics itself. There is no bot army. That's a myth these days. Any digital team these days is far more intelligent to utilize something so obvious, right? Okay. They're just checking in. Anything new? They said no. We're just being cautious. Okay. There's the article from the Daily Mail. They said just sharing FYI. Justin says it's actually really sweet, so this might have been a different article. Oh, Justin Baldoni, domestic violence. Blake Lively ends with us drama. So it must have been a nice article, but that they were talking about. Something to be aware of, and then he puts TikTok there. I'm not really sure what it is. You guys, this might be the best thing I've seen. Wow, AMC for the win. It's got to be like the funny elevator videos, I guess, or something like that. Oh, and then there's a video of Blake here. I think this is when she was promoting the movie, but I can't really tell because the thumbnail there is so small. They said the comments. Matthew Mitchell says, savage, wow. Okay. Justin says, hey, all, I know it's just going to be weird, but I'm asking my friend John to join us. He's all psychic, and he advises on intense things and offered to help a while ago. So I'm going to take him up on that and just get his 2 cents. Listen, guys, psychics are not really my thing. I think there are some people who are, you know, they say they're psychics that are very intuitive and they have some good insights. But the psychics thing in general, aside from like a couple people, not really my thing. You know, I respect people who feel that is helpful. But personally, I don't use psychics, so that's just a personal thing, though. So, all right. I don't think there's anything else too crazy here. Yeah, he's still sending TikToks. They're basically sending TikToks and being like XYZ, like, oh, it'll be fine, or this is good to boost, or whatever. There's nothing crazy nefarious going on here. So this chick here on the thing, I can't really see who she is, but it's a TikTok he sends. It says, "This woman DM'd me also, by the way." I don't know if that's like somebody asking for an interview or what. I can't tell who that is. So unfortunately, I can't really say too much about it. Let me actually look, make sure it's not the lady who said he invited her to his hotel. Hang on. Wait a minute. Oh, fuck. Wait. No, I think we're good. We're good. Thank God that isn't up. I was like, I don't have time to do that tonight. It's already 7:30. Oh my God. Where's this thing I'm looking for? Hotel allegation? No, it's not the same chick. I was looking to see if it was the same chick in the thumbnail, but it looks like it's a different person. Yeah, that's not the same person. Okay. So I don't know who that is. Okay. Anyways, I'm ready to call it a night, I think. It's 7:30 here. But unsolicited, you might be right. I don't want to harass you, but my nips shoot bullets sometimes. What? I think I missed something. But anyways. Thanks, guys. That's, I think, enough for me today. It's almost been 2 hours this afternoon. AC, thank you for the $7.99 app. She said surely to him, but he was like, gee, awful in a nice way. This was a little bit ago. I'm thinking this probably has something to do with Colleen, right? She said surely to him, but he was like, gee, awful in a nice way. Yeah. Thank you, AC. Appreciate that. Christina, thank you for being a member for 8 months. Thank you, Lauren, for reading this. Appreciate you. Send you love. If you consent, I consent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Anissa, thank you for the $10. Since I can't throw $1 bills at you from the camera, top trick, I'll settle for a super chat. Don't sue me. I don't have enough money to sue you. It's fine. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. CMBBY 17 or 17B or whatever it says. Hang on. I don't know how to pronounce that username, but BBBY. Okay, how about that? Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I see you. I don't know how to pronounce your username, but I see you, and I appreciate that very much. So, all right, thanks, guys. I got to take off, eat some dinner. Probably go to bed early, hopefully, because I got work tomorrow. So, all right. Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it. And I'll wait. Who can I redirect you guys to? There might be somebody streaming right now. Let me check it out. One sec. Redirect. There's one person streaming, but okay, I'll send you to this one person streaming. I don't know what they're streaming about, but you can just tell them I said hi, I guess. All right. How about that? Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Hang on. AC, thank you for the £3 or $3, 3 Australian dollars, I think. I meant she said sorry. I got you. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. Bye, guys. See ya.